I want to introduce Bill Lowry. And Bill is a community liaison for the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials, what we refer to as PHMSA, and he's based in Houston. He has worked for PHMSA as an inspector, project manager, and community liaison for the past 23 years. Prior to working at PHMSA, Bill had experience working for a state regulatory agency, and actually that's when I first met Bill. He was in Las Vegas with state of Nevada also early in his career. And then his work responsibilities included engineering in the oil gas industry, inspection of pipelines both onshore and offshore. Bill has a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and a master's degree in business administration. Bill holds a AMPP certifications, that's the new NACE now, their new name, of cathodic protection, internal corrosion, and pipeline corrosion. So with that, I welcome Bill.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to hear the very informative information and sessions and so forth. I learn a lot when I get to go out and do these presentations because I get to listen to the other presentations. So, I got the opportunity to come here and speak today, and I apologize in advance if my presentation seems a little disjointed. I took parts of other presentations. Actually, I created a few slides to make some points, but it's kind of, I tried to focus a little more on distribution and leak detection and those topics and what's going on with that. But honestly, this is I got all my paper here with the all the regulations and things. Notice of proposed rulemakings and so forth and so on, because I can't keep it all up here. There's too much going on. I heard the discussion about advocacy groups, and there's a whole lot going on with natural gas, but we're also dealing with carbon dioxide pipeline projects, the hazardous liquids, the oil lines, the foreign crude, the LNG plants along the coast. I know there's a moratorium on that, I guess. So we've gotten kind of in a situation with PHMSA and with the administration as it is, where it's a bit of an identity crisis, because we're not only now pipeline safety, and that is, according to everybody, that's our priority, our focus, but we're also having all these environmental considerations injected into the discussion in the dialogue and so forth, as well as the underserved, if I have that nomenclature correct, because it keeps changing. So there's advocacy for safety, advocacy for the environment, advocacy for the less fortunate, I guess, or it's perceived that a lot of projects were advanced to the disadvantage of certain neighborhoods or certain groups or so forth and so on. So am I controlling this?
Yes.
Oh, good. I always like to be in control. Okay, so we go out and we give broad updates. Like I said, I tried to narrow this a little bit, but this is our portfolio, if you will. So a couple things that I like to focus in on this, and I don't see the date. Oh, here it is. So where we get all our information from, I'm going to show some charts and some data and things like that, but it's from the operators. It's from annual reports, a lot of it, and it's from incident reporting or different kinds of notifications that are required. And if you've been doing this a while, you'll notice that our notification format, the amount of information has broadened and become more over time as we implement different programs. I'm sure a lot of you in this room are familiar, or hopefully familiar, with the Distribution Integrity Management Program, which has been around for about a dozen years or so. That was, first was liquid imp, then transmission gas imp, and then liquid distribution imp. I'm sure there's one I'm missing even. So one thing I want to point out here, and it used to be over 80% until we started adding in all the gathering mileage, but gas distribution is by far our biggest component by miles. And as I think has been maybe discussed already this morning, it's the state programs primarily that oversee these gas distribution programs. As part of our program, they're required to adopt our regulations, 49 CFR 190, 191, 192. However, if they find in a specific state or an individual state that they have issues that they need to address, such as I understand it, the leak survey requirements and so forth, they are allowed to adopt state-specific regulations, as long as they're more stringent. As was mentioned, I worked in Nevada some time ago, and at the time, we didn't. We were just going straight 192. The other thing about when I was in Nevada, I think we were doing the interstate agent thing as well, which the feds will let you do that. So I got to go into the LNG plant, the propane air peak shaving plant that they had at the time, some of the other transmission line stuff. But if we found anything, we had to send those findings to Denver. So anyway, Western region. So here's this. I've been presenting this slide over the years, actually, and so it keeps getting updated yearly with the new data. And basically, what it tends to say is that over time, as the consumption of natural gas and petroleum products has gone up, and as the pipeline mileage has typically gone up, and the population's gone up, incidents are trending downward. So we use that as a kind of a performance metric. We do categorize reports of incidents for presentations like this. And real quickly, there's a couple of different categories. I'm going to focus, I think, on the serious real quick. So what we've decided, or what we've portrayed, what the information has told us is that 2022, the last year we have current data for, we have 71% of our serious incidents occurring on gas distribution as opposed to other types of pipelines. That's probably pretty consistent, I would say, because gas distribution lines are where the people are. They're where the activities are. They're where a lot of perhaps third parties are. There's a lot of incidents where vehicles are running into facilities, or just generally they're not out where they're sight unseen. Okay, there's significant accidents, and really when you get into there, it kind of evens out a little better. Okay, so this is some information, and this is where DIMP went into effect, requiring another reporting parameter of this hazardous leaks eliminated rate. So this is gas distribution leaks per 1,000 miles for the last 15, 16 years. Here it says, DIMP was effective in 2011, and we expected an eventual decrease in the rate of operators identifying integrity threats and so forth and so on, implementing programs. And that's what happens when we pass a new regulation and people get a chance to implement it and massage it, make it better. And this is all data that's on our website. One of the presentations I cherry picked these from is we get a whole portfolio of these kinds of slides. So I have these for gas transmission, hazardous liquids, a little bit for CO2, and some of the other facilities that we regulate. Here we go again, data starting in 2011, 2010. Excavation damage, that tends to be more often a distribution problem. Here's distribution miles by decade installed, and of course, the 70 to present, and 70, a lot of times on these types of data slides, we'll pick 70 because that's basically when the regulations went into effect. And most of the time, I used to think of legacy pipe or legacy information from the gas industry or the liquids industry as pre-code. We have some new definitions in some of the more recent rulemakings regarding legacy, but the 70 to present is always increasing as time goes on, and as facilities are replaced, older facilities, unknown facilities are going down the quickest, I'd say. So eventually, it's kind of like the whole grandfather discussion. When the code went into effect in basically 1970, everything had to be grandfathered, because there was no way to go forward. You couldn't immediately replace, a large amount of pipe or whatever. But now it's become more of a discussion as problems with different types of materials, cast iron or other types of older materials that were used at different times become more of an issue in incident reports, and then we get the congressional mandates and directives and so forth that we put into our rules and things. Okay, so we got the Pipes Act of 2023 is actually on the table. It's been introduced, and presumably it's if you want to look it up, it's House Resolution 6494. And this time it's the Pipes Act called the Promoting Innovation in Pipeline Efficiency and Safety Act of 23, or the Pipes Act of 23. So we had the Pipes Act of 16, the Pipes Act of 20, and now the Pipes Act of potentially 2023. Back in the day, they at least seemed to swap between the Pipeline Safety Improvement Act and the Pipes Act, but now it's pipes. So to me, that makes it confusing. But anyway, we're still working on the mandates from the Pipes Act of 2020, a little bit from 2016, and a lot of these presentations that I give have to do with what's commonly known in the industry as the mega rule, and that actually came out of the Act of 2011. And what these acts are, they're reauthorization acts for our agency. We have to be reauthorized every 4 or 5 years, 3, 4, 5 years, and that gives us the funding. They designate positions or how much we can spend. A lot of this grant money, other kinds of funds that we allocate, things like that, come out of the reauthorization and so forth. But at the same time that they're giving us resources, they're also saying, we had this accident in New England, or we had this incident that our constituents are upset about or whatever, so we want PHMSA to promulgate new rules regarding leak detection or whatever. And it's a lot of people coming to the table and saying, we have environmental concerns or climate, concerns have been an overall driver for this present administration. And we are an executive branch under the DOT. We are, go up enough levels, and the boss is the president and his administration. So we also have the Methane Reduction Act. Now, all these things, are available online. This is actually something that the administration put out called the Methane Reduction Act, and it has a lot to do with the EPA and some to do with us, and a lot of this climate stuff that we never had to deal with, when I first started doing this type of work, is directed toward us. And this is available online. You can download it, read it. But anyway, so a lot of the Methane Reduction Act has impacted RIN 1 and RIN 3. I mean RIN 2 and RIN 3 of the gas rule, the valve rule, the remote valve, the rupture mitigation valve rule, the leak detection and repair rule, the gas distribution rule, the LNG rule, and this is just a couple of websites where you can follow these rules as they go through the regulatory process. This is our Pipes Act of 2020 web chart. Here's gas pipeline leak detection. It was out of 113, and that was the you probably went through that where you had to put in your O&M plan how you were going to reduce leaks due to various maintenance type releases and these sorts of things. So anyway, this is available online as well. So the NPRM was published May 18th. Responds to Section 113 of the Pipes Act of 2020. Comment period is over. As discussed, it's a grade and repair all leaks, more frequently surveys, performance standards for equipment, minimize your maintenance and operation-related releases, and some more reporting requirements. And this is the stated benefits. As Paul said, the meeting was held last November. There's another one in March. It hasn't shown up, I don't believe, on our public meetings page. At one point, a lot of these you could attend virtually. I'm not sure. I think it's kind of hit or miss on virtual attendance these days. But if you get a chance, you can go to the meetings page. Before the meeting's held, you may be able to sign up and attend virtually if you can't make the trip to, where was that, Alexandria?
Crystal City.
Crystal City. Washington, same place the R&D forum was, I believe. And but nonetheless, once the meeting's been held, and I'm going to show you some links here in a minute, I think, once the meeting has been held, you can go back to the page, and you can go back years on these and download all the presentations, the voting slides, the discussions of the advisory committee. So the RIN number, regulatory identification number, is 2137 AF51. 2137 means PHMSA. Strengthen leak survey, petroleum requirements, performance standards for advanced leak detection programs, leak grading, and repair criteria with mandatory repair timelines. So this is the page on regulations.gov, and the reason I zeroed in on this, and you can get the docket details, you can see the comments. Now, somebody was talking about comments. We got 27,000 almost comments. And I tried to cruise through some of them because a lot of them, it's the industry groups and so forth. And some of the industry groups actually consolidate their comments. Like I've got one here that's it's a whole lot of gas. Yeah, we got one comment. Gas gathering industry. It's the GPA, the API. The Independent Petroleum Association of America, Marcellus Shale Coalition, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Kentucky, Texas Oil and Gas, Petroleum Alliance of Oklahoma. So, there's a lot of those, but there's also these individuals, and they all, I don't know if they actually belong to groups or whatever, but if you look through these comments, which you can do on this page, you can see that a lot of individuals are now commenting on these things. We thought we got a lot of comments for the gas rule and had to go through a bunch of those, but that's just a tremendous amount of comments. So what happened, what I'm trying to show here, I think, is you can go to that page and you can see the documents. And one of the documents is that's going to be affected among all these other is the annual report. So if you look at the gas distribution annual report, it's Form 7100. And you can get this on our website, and somebody in your company, probably not most people in here, but somebody has to file this annually. The gas annual reports have to be filed in March. Liquid annual reports are filed in June, I believe. And then we get the data off the annual reports and we create all our information that we put out there. So they've redefined a hazardous leak, any release of gas uncontrolled at the time of discovery, existing probable future hazard, property, people, or the environment, or any uncontrolled release of gas from pipeline using equipment, sight, sound, smell, or touch. They've created a grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 leaks defined in accordance with 192.760. And the number of leaks initially discovered by the public includes any leak initially discovered notification from the public. So that has to be reported as well. This is a typo right here. I have a corrected version that I'll try to supply for the record. But as was mentioned, they had a GPAC meeting in November. They discussed the rule. The GPAC is a statutory committee. and it's industry, government, but also public consultants and so forth and so on. It changes from time to time who's serving on the GPAC, but it has to get through the GPAC before it can become a regulation. We had the R&D forum in Crystal City, and we had a leak detection was one of the concurrent working group sessions. So you can go to this page, meeting 167, meeting 166. Back in 21, there was a 113 and 114 public meeting. You can go to 152. You can download all the stuff that was presented. I know this one in particular, there was a lot of presentations by the EPA. You know, they measure releases in kilotons, and they use a whole different methodology and so forth. Pretty interesting. Other rules that might be of interest to you is rupture mitigation valves, some effect on emergency plans and procedures. There's some legal action against some of these rules, and some of them have been delayed as far as implementation. It's a little confusing because different types of systems have different implementation dates due to some of the agreements or legal considerations. The biggest thing I usually talk about in the, to be honest with you, in this valve rule is now there's valve spacing. There's always been valve spacing for gas transmission lines, class location dependent and so forth, and there never was for hazardous liquids lines, believe it or not. Never was a requirement. And safety of gas distributions, that's RIN number 2137A53. This is the Leonel Rondon Act. That's the person that was killed in the New England low pressure system incident. That's like a whole different section of the Pipes 2020 Act, and focuses very much on distribution, integrity management, emergency response, and O&M. So that'll be coming out. Class locations. I don't know. Did they discuss class locations at the GPAC
Didn't get
meeting?
to it. That'll be in the
next one.
The next.
They didn't make it. Okay, sorry. Here's some PHMSA resources. I'll be here. You know, I don't know if I'll have time to answer questions, but you know, I'm glad to talk to people. As a matter of fact, I seem to get more people coming to me individually than questions from people during the group. One thing I wanted to bring up real quickly, you know, I want to talk about summarize a little bit, the Advanced Leak Detection Program. Equipment, each leak detection device must have a minimum sensitivity of 5 ppm. ALDP as a whole must be capable of detecting all leaks large enough in volume to produce a reading of 5 ppm when measured within 5 feet from the pipeline. See, we never had these type of specifics before. Distribution specific annual leak survey for pipe known to leak. Now, that'll be interesting to get that interpretation, because I'm sure there'll be a bit of back and forth on that. More frequent surveys outside business districts, transmission specific, requiring leak detection equipment except 1 and 2 with notification. So that's another notification. More frequent surveys in high consequence areas, more frequent patrols, requirement to minimize emissions from routine blowdowns. There's exceptions for compressor stations in compliance with EP regulations. So that gets a little confusing when we're, you know, creating regulations from other agencies and so forth. I run into that with Bessie on the offshore stuff from time to time. It's confusing for people because, and I run into it on hazardous liquid atmospheric tanks, because EPA takes jurisdiction over that, and in some cases along the coast we have a dual jurisdiction with the Coast Guard and stuff, so it becomes a bit of a regulatory interpretation. Proposed rule to type A, B, C in offshore gathering, eliminate leak surveys exception for type C, so they're accepted right now apparently, requiring patrols for regulated gathering lines, procedure manuals for regulated gathering, and national pipeline mapping system, which I haven't mentioned up to this point, for gathering lines. So that'll be good to get those on the map. Grade 1 leaks, no change in timing. Any leak that can be seen, heard, or felt are grade 1 regardless of location. I think we talked about the different locations and the effects. This is saying regardless. So 6-month repair criteria for grade 2 leaks versus 15 months in the GPTC, gas transmission and HCA's 3 and 4 is a 30-day repair criteria. All transmission leaks are grade 2 at a minimum rather than greater than 30 SMICE or location. New criteria for emissions greater than 10 cubic feet per hour. And grade 3 leaks repair all within 24 months, no repair time frame in GPTC, exception for pipe scheduled to be replaced within 5 years. So there is maybe a few exceptions if you got a pipe replacement program, and you need to do it for economic reasons. Reevaluate grade 3 leaks within 6 months versus the 15 months. One other thing I wanted to mention that had recently come to my attention is that I got a notification probably a week ago about from one of the state program managers. It wasn't Texas, but there actually was a group that had received a grant, I think, from EPA, and they were out there performing measurements, and they detected a methane leak on a transmission line facility and actually reported it kind of independently. So they're, I didn't know if you guys had experienced this or whatever, but there's actually environmental groups out there, or environmentally associated groups that are actually independently going out there and doing leak surveys. And so they might drive by one of your facilities, and if there's a fissure or something of some sort, then they'll call the state agency or whoever and say, XYZ pipeline, we found a high level of methane being detected in our environmental survey. I mean, they're looking for other things as well, I think, but they did come up with a methane leak, and the company was informed. They went out there and tightened a couple fittings or whatever, but it wasn't a huge leak. So that, in addition to, as we know, there's some satellite imagery and things going on with some of these groups, but I didn't know they were doing actual on-the-ground surveys before that. So
Thank you, Bill.
yeah, appreciate it.